I, 26 female, and my partner, 26 male, have 3 kids between us. I have 2 daughters, tween and pre-tween, and he has a son, an older teen. My stepson used to stay with us at the weekends, but as he has to share a room with my daughters, he's decided he doesn't want to stay anymore, which is fair enough. He's getting older and wants space. Plus, he's getting way too old to share now. I don't have a problem with this at all. He needs to do what's best for him. And I'm not going to force him to come to my house all the time when he doesn't want it. But he also doesn't want to spend any time here at all. He wants to spend all his time at his grandma's, not with his mom or dad. When we all went away last year, he had his own hotel room, while we had a relatively good time exploring the town without his moaning. I was planning on booking a holiday for the end of this year, but I told my partner that I wasn't paying for my stepson to come with us. By the time we go, he would have spent 0 time with the family and probably wouldn't enjoy coming away with us for a week, as he doesn't enjoy being around my kids anymore and really doesn't like me. My partner threw a massive tantrum and said I was purposely leaving him out of stuff just to be spiteful. But in reality, I'm the one who pays for everything, i.e. the holiday, clothes, food, activities, etc. when we're away. And I want to enjoy myself and let my kids enjoy it without stepson moaning about being here in the first place, which he will and did the last time we went away. And I don't want to pay for someone who doesn't want to be here in the first place. Am I the idiot? Should I just pay for him and get on with it? Edit. My partner does have a full-time job, gets a decent wage and pays child support, but he's crap at saving money though. We don't share money. He has his money and I have mine. I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I only get benefits and save for the holiday and everything that comes with it, on top of paying bills and stuff. We live in my house and it's in my name. Stepson's mom is still in the picture. She has him full-time and also doesn't like me. So your partner's 26 years old and became a father 12 years ago, and you had your daughters before you were 19? I see your age as being the biggest problem. Neither parent is mature enough to handle a child or children when they had them, and they still haven't grown up to the level to handle them. Oh, just wait. OP and the dude will likely have one together and add another kid to the mix, just for giggles. You are the idiot, OP. You knew he had a child when you met him, so you must have known he would be a part of your life. I feel sorry for the lad. He probably feels he's a bit of a spare part, given that he can't even have his own space when he stays with you. I wouldn't want to stay there either. You should take him on holiday and allow him to spend some quality time with his father. Counterpoint. His dad is excluding him by not paying and not contributing enough to have a home with a bedroom for him. His father should step up and help pay, not whine like a child while his wife pays for and does everything. This dude is blowing money on crap or hiding it instead of contributing to moving into a place big enough for his son that no longer visits. OP's choosing to remain with a man that's neglecting his child and spends money on trips. So I guess it's okay as long as he's there for her. Everyone's the idiot here. I agree. Everyone's the idiot here. You referring to your husband's reaction to you excluding his son as a tantrum is also really messed up. What did you expect? Him to just agree to exclude his kid from a family trip? Your husband is employed full-time and receiving a decent wage. You are a stay-at-home mom living off benefits, and yet all financial responsibility for the stepson appears to become your responsibility? What exactly is your hubby bringing to your relationship? Because it doesn't sound like he supports you at all. Not just financially. He had a child very young, but it doesn't sound like he's grown up much. You really need to sit him down and set some very reasonable expectations. And if he doesn't like them, let him go. Stop enabling him. Do not pay for his things. You need to support yourself and your own 2 children financially. He is not your financial responsibility. I, 32 male, have a wonderful wife, 30, and 2 young children, toddler females. I receive monthly royalties. I inherited part of my great-uncle's estate after his death. I'll say that the amount is comparable to what my friend earns as a physician. I haven't been spending any of the money I've received in royalties, but have instead just invested it for my children's benefit. In my state, the law dictates that I can will half of the community property and all of my separate property to whoever I want without being concerned about an elective share claim. So I've decided to will my separate property, the book rights and the separate investments, to my daughters. She can keep all of the community property. My wife is a wonderful woman and we've built a great life together. But prior to me inheriting my great-uncle's estate, she insisted on keeping her inheritance separate. Since she set the standard, I don't believe that deviating from it now would be in her favor to do so. Not only that, if my wife remarries, I wouldn't want her new family, any other children she may have, to inherit the book rights. I want them to stay in my family. So I wrote up and notarized my will the other day and gave her a heads up about what would be in it. But she's been upset with what I've done. Am I the idiot? Well, there's a girl in California who lives off of Peter Sellers' money, millions. She's not related to him and never met him. She's the daughter of the young wife he was divorcing when he had a fatal heart attack. He was days away from the appointment where he would rewrite his will. His own children got $800. Leave the royalties to your children so they can leave it to theirs. You are not the idiot. Let's see here. He rewrote his will to leave his estate to his much younger wife, thereby cutting his own children out. He did that. I'm sure she loved him for him and not his money. The article says they were getting divorced, and there were years, at least one, for him to change his will during that process. Yet he never found the time to rewrite the will. So that's on him again. I feel for his kids, but their dad did them wrong. OP, you're just keeping family money in the family. Info. Is her will the same? Is she willing to give her inheritance and whatnot to your daughters if she dies? Or would they go to you? I can't really make a proper judgment without knowing that she's done the exact same thing here legally that you have. She doesn't have a will, and my brother will take care of everything in case something happens to me. You are the idiot. Who gets the wife's inheritance if she dies? Instead of making the wife executor, he named his brother. Sure you love your wife. Sounds like you're trying to cut her out. You may not need to worry, because with this will screwing her over, she'll probably divorce you. You're telling her that you don't trust her. There are many details that you're deliberately leaving out of your story, OP. This is very disingenuous. You made your brother the executor of your will and left everything for the kids, but you benefit from her because she doesn't have a will, and you get her estate if anything happened to her. You didn't discuss anything with her and didn't even consider her family enough to do so. Do you like and trust your wife? I don't understand your nasty treatment of her. My life hasn't been going that great recently. I left my husband 2 months ago, and I've been miserable since. I left him because I had a crush on another man, and that made me question our entire relationship and myself too. I started dating my husband when I was 17, and I fell in love with his kindness. He was my first boyfriend ever, and he showed me care I'd never received from a man before. Long story short, I left him after almost 10 years of being together because I started questioning why I'd fallen in love with him. Growing up, I had an emotionally abusive father, and I never went to therapy or tried to process that. I just tucked it away and got married to a man who was the complete opposite of him and a people pleaser. Upon leaving my husband, I moved back in with my mother. My father's dead now, and my little brother. And now I hate my life and I miss my husband terribly. I have to commute 3 hours a day to work, and my mother and brother are much more difficult roommates than my husband. My brother especially is frustrated by my presence and constantly picks up fights. Yesterday he yelled at me through the door about taking too long in the bathroom, and I told him to calm down and not be such an idiot. He asked when I would finally move out because I was always in the way, and told me I was an idiot for leaving my husband and I should go and beg him to take me back. But he probably won't because I'm impossible to live with. I snapped and yelled at him, asking him to have some empathy for me. I'm going through a hard time, and I really don't need him to be such an idiot to me. He replied that it wasn't his problem. I created this situation for myself, and it wasn't fair that he had to suffer the consequences of my actions too, and I didn't deserve his empathy. He's right that it is all my fault. I created this situation, and I've only got myself to blame. Am I the idiot for yelling at him? Edit. My brother's 22, and his problem is basically just me being there. Not that I'm messy or loud, just that I'm present. He likes to send our mother away for the night to her boyfriend's when he wants company, and it bothers him that he really can't send me away like that. Also, I didn't leave my husband for the other guy. I stopped talking to that man as soon as I realized I had a crush. My mother allowed me to move in with her until I figured things out. The thing is, my husband has his own set of issues. He's a people pleaser and always avoids arguments at all costs. So I started to wonder if I'm just with him because he doesn't trigger any of my childhood trauma. So now I'm going to therapy and trying to define myself as a person. I also suggested to my husband couples therapy multiple times, but he didn't want that. Not the idiot. It sounds like your bro might have taken a few pages out of your father's book, and they ain't pretty. Everyone has huge introspective moments in their marriage at some point. Figure yourself out. Do you want to go back to your husband? It might be too late, but maybe not. Make up your mind where you want to go from here, even if it's in baby steps, like getting an apartment to escape Toxic Jr. Yeah, your brother's a major idiot. He's 22. He can either move out if he wants to control space or grow some kindness. Before anyone yells at me about how it's hard to move out at 22, I am 22. I know it's hard, but still don't need to be an idiot to your sister who's having a crisis and major life changes. OP, I understand where you're coming from. Unfortunately, you worded your post wrong. If your husband won't do couples therapy or even acknowledge you have your own issues, that's a huge problem. I'm glad you cut contact with your crush before anything happened, and I personally think that that was the final straw that broke you. Your brother has no right to act like he is. It'd be smart to prioritize figuring out an alternative living situation as soon as possible. A month ago, I, female 25, moved into my new flat. It's a bottom floor flat in an older house, so you can easily hear what other people are doing. My upstairs neighbors, a couple, female and male late 20s, early 30s, I think, are generally good neighbors. They're not loud or anything, but I've noticed their inappropriate and wasteful bathing habits. You can hear the water running easily. I'm not a creep. The girl takes a long bath, 30 minutes to an hour, every single day, and the guy's taking 2 shorter ones, one in the morning and one at night. I know all our flats have baths only, no showers. I thought it was just a one-off, but it happens every single day. As I said, they're not loud and don't bother me, but I'm worried about them being so wasteful with water. It's not appropriate for 2 people to use this much water. I can hear her tipping up her bath with warm water constantly during her bath. I understand getting dirty and everything, but these 2 work from home. They don't need daily baths. It's so wasteful. When I saw the girl, Jenny, I approached her and tried to gently ask about her bathing, but she told me she wouldn't discuss her habits with strangers. I tried to explain to her politely that it was wasteful and that she should be more environmentally conscious, and she rudely told me to mind my own business. I told her that I appreciated that they were recycling and have separate food waste, but it's not enough, and they're really wasteful and ruin the environment for everybody. She told me that she'd take as many baths as she wanted because she was not going to stink as I did. I told her that was rude and uncalled for, and that I don't smell, and natural skin oils are not smelly dirt. She said, "Keep telling yourself that. Anyone can smell you." I tried to explain to her that she was unnecessarily rude, and I was just trying to educate her on the damage they were doing. But she even more rudely told me to mind my own business and never speak to her again. I told my friends about this, and some of them agreed with me. Others suggested I should have spoken to the landlord so he could speak to them, and a few people said I was the idiot and shouldn't approach strangers. I only tried to help, but I worry that I might have crossed the line into being an idiot. Am I? You are the idiot. You definitely crossed the line by bringing up their bathing habits. As your neighbor pointed out, is none of your business. You're trying to force your personal beliefs on total strangers. I can't say I blame your neighbor for reacting rudely. Commenting on your neighbor's hygiene routine is incredibly invasive. I realize you may think you're educating them regarding what you see as wasteful, but it's very creepy. Imagine them going through your trash and finding you're not recycling 100%, and they decide to educate you. You owe them an apology. For real, what the heck? The way you approached her was so creepy and uncalled for. Mind your own business. Imagine someone out of the blue asking you, how do you shower and for how long? Like, what the heck? You aren't paying for their water. Feel free to reduce your bathing to balance theirs if you feel so strongly about it. Someone taking a bath every day is nothing. It changes nothing. The only way to change things at this point is on a grand scale. We're talking major laws for industry, entire countries completely changing, global initiative type stuff. Going around pontificating and harassing people about taking a bath isn't the move here. If you're passionate about wastefulness and the global environmental crisis that we're in right now, then you need to spend the time you're listening to people take a bath on reading and educating yourself. Volunteer with a charity making big moves to create change in legislation. Put the energy you're using judging people for not being as good as you into something less performative. I, 25 female, and my husband, 27, have a home together with our preschooler. My sister Julia, 20, lives with us because we live close to her college. She has her own room. She doesn't pay rent. Julia likes to leave the bedroom in a big shirt and underwear, or just a robe, and walk around the house in her sports bra and booty shorts. I mentioned to her nicely to change before, but she keeps doing it. The other night she did it again, and I just simply said, cover up. She got angry and said she lived there too, and accused me of worrying my husband would like her. I told her that was definitely not the case, but there was a young child in this home, and it wasn't appropriate. She needed to cover up before leaving her room. We got into an argument, and I basically said you could run around your room naked for all I care, but once you leave the bedroom, you need to be covered. She didn't like that and has avoided me in the house the past few days. Am I the idiot? I think you're within your rights as the homeowner to make this request. Your house, your rules. But I agree with her that this doesn't seem like a big deal. However, I do think it's weird that you're worried about your child seeing their aunt in athletic wear. Are you going to keep your kid away from pools where there could be women in two-piece bathing suits? Wait, OP. You're not worried your husband will like her, but you are worried that it isn't appropriate for the small child? Why? What are you teaching a child that he sees your sister in less conservative clothing and gets the wrong idea? I'm genuinely so confused when people use that excuse regarding modesty. Babies are born naked without a sense of shame regarding it. That stuff is learned. And if your worry was your husband, that's victim blaming and not okay either. She's absolutely worried her husband is looking. That's the only reason. She doesn't like her 20-year-old sister walking around the house like that where hubby can see. And maybe even hubby feels uncomfortable with it, which is fair as it's his home. But don't scapegoat your little kid who could care less, OP. Not the idiot. You need to know that the sister's doing this on purpose. She knows it bothers you, and she's still doing it. Her motive could be simple defiance to actually aiming for attention from your husband, per her own admission of possible guilt. I only think she has two options: comply with covering up when she leaves her room, or finding her own place close to campus. She's not contributing to the home. Your home, your rules. Her accusation sounds more like a goal of hers, maybe. My 22 female boyfriend Malcolm, 22, has a half-sister, Elena, tween. They have the same dad, and he's not involved in their lives. Their moms became close friends, and they were raised seeing one another. Malcolm's mom moved abroad a couple of years ago. Elena's mom, Sandra, was diagnosed with cancer last year. She went through treatment, but it's determined that there's nothing they can do but make her comfortable. Sandra will pass sometimes this year. She has no family. Malcolm has spent much time helping care for Elena, driving her to school, making their meals, etc. Recently, Malcolm sat me down He said that Sandra asked to speak to him. She said she understood if the answer was no, but asked for him to take on custody of Elena sooner rather than later. That way she could adjust to him being her guardian before she passed. Malcolm would move in with them. Sandra had a sizable life insurance policy and an account to help him care for Elena. To my surprise, he agreed to all of this without consulting me. I pointed this out, and he said we've only been together 6 months. I asked if he didn't feel like he was too young for all of this. He said sort of, but he'd do it for Elena. Without further discussion, he subleased his apartment and moved in with Sandra and Elena. Saturday, I stopped by to pick up Malcolm for lunch. He hadn't returned from work yet, so I was waiting with Sandra. We were making small talk, and she mentioned how grateful she was for Malcolm and that he was a sweet boy. I asked if he was her only option. I mentioned his mom. Sandra said Elena's losing enough. She doesn't want to force her to move abroad on top of everything. She also doesn't feel right asking Malcolm's mom to move back. I said I found this whole thing a little selfish. Malcolm's only 22. He shouldn't be tied down raising a child. Sandra got defensive and said she wished she didn't have to ask him. Plus, he said yes. I asked what else he was supposed to say. Sandra told me I was upsetting her and asked me to leave. Malcolm called me later, screaming at me. He said that I upset Sandra. I said I was trying to defend him and point out options she may not have considered. Malcolm told me to butt out and get on board with this or walk away. He hasn't spoken to me since. I saw Elena at the mall on Sunday, and she ignored me. My mom told me I screwed up big time. Am I the idiot? You should listen to your mother. It sounds like she's a smart woman. Malcolm got lucky. He just glimpsed into your soul when you let your mask slip. It is twisted under there. And cruel. For God's sake, harassing a dying woman? Really? And shameless about it, no less. Lucky for him, he saw that early on and hasn't spent years of his life with you. I'm genuinely confused why he hasn't made a clean break yet. Maybe he has and it just can't be bothered to inform you. They had only been together for 6 months. They were dating and not even living together, so it wasn't a discussion they needed to have. OP, wow. This woman is dying and setting her affairs in order, and you called her selfish? You are the idiot, and soon to be single. That little girl is his sister. It's not up to you to decide that it's selfish of her dying mother to ask her family to become a guardian. Honestly, you're not only selfish, you're requesting a family that you barely know to uproot a child who will lose her mother, to move that child abroad so you can have your boyfriend all to yourself. Selfish, entitled, and arrogant all in one move. What were you hoping to accomplish, other than making a dying woman feel crappy? He'd already agreed, and you already had a conversation with him about it, in which he responded to the points you brought up. It was a done deal, and you had no reason to open your big mouth. 100% she showed up early to harass that woman, and now that poor woman gets to spend at least part of her few remaining days wondering if she's being unfair to her stepson and is selfish for putting that responsibility on his shoulders. On top of everything else she's going through, it'll be an invasive thought. OP, guess what? Your opinion means absolutely nothing. If you don't want to be a step-parent or have a relationship with someone who legally has a child, fine, break up, but you way overstepped. This is between your boyfriend, Sandra, and Elena. My girlfriend, 27, and I, 26 male, went out for a special event, and we were dressed very well. It was in another city, and we don't have a car, so we took the bus there. On the way back, we realized we had some unexpected errands in the city and spent a good hour walking around. The city is hilly with older cobblestone paths, which was quite tiring for me as I'm not the fittest. When we caught the bus to go home, I entered the bus first and took the last available seat, and my girlfriend stood next to me. When the bus started moving, she asked if she could take my seat as her feet were tired, and I declined as I was tired and quite breathless still. When we got home, she said I was being inconsiderate since she was in heels. I didn't really think that was relevant since she almost always wears heels, but she said that these were stilettos and she normally wears black heels, but I don't really know the difference. and I didn't think it mattered for standing. Maybe for walking. She's fitter and goes to the gym and has more stamina, and it was just her feet that were tired. So I feel I deserve the seat more. Besides, it was her choice to wear those shoes. Am I the idiot here since I actually was tired and got to the seat first? Edit. My girlfriend really likes her fashion, and we've talked about carrying flats before, but she says she doesn't want to. Also, I know I need to get fitter. I was dealing with some issues until recently and put on weight in the past 3 years. They are, for the most part, resolved now, and I actually do have appointments with medical professionals and nutritionists soon to talk about beginning exercise routines. I'm not morbidly obese, but I am overweight. You are the idiot. There's a huge difference between stilettos and block heels regarding where the pressure is when walking and standing. Even for someone who wears block heels or thicker, often shorter heels often, stilettos can make your feet sore. You could have caught your breath standing up and been more considerate of your girlfriend's aching feet. Plus, since you said yourself the errands were unexpected, she chose to wear those heels, not realizing you two would be walking around for an hour on cobblestones, which makes walking in heels even harder, by the way. So your "she chose to wear these shoes" argument isn't valid. Just wanted to add as well, beyond her feet aching, my lord, it's dangerous to be standing on the bus in stilettos. I feel like this aspect is her issue though, as she knew she'd be catching a bus when she chose those shoes. However, I'm not keen on him still making her stand on a bus in them, because, well, it's dangerous. But my God, my husband would never make me stand in flats, let alone heels, let alone stilettos. He'd either give me the seat or have me sit on his lap if he really didn't feel like standing. OP, did she dump you? I was actually tired? Seriously? You don't get to determine if she's actually tired or not, especially since she said she was tired. She walked around for over an hour, balancing her weight on the balls of her feet on a point, typically no bigger than a penny on her heels, on hills and cobblestones. I'd like to see you try that for 5 minutes, then try to say she wasn't actually tired. Yeah, do you even like your girlfriend? At the very least, you could have split the ride half and half, so she got to sit down too. Maybe you'd be in better shape if you stood up more often. That's your choice, as much as wearing heels is hers. She's not entitled to the seat because she's a woman, but you sure as heck aren't entitled to the seat because you're lazy and out of shape. If you can't think of the needs of your partner, then just be single. I, 59 male, live in a major city in Ontario, Canada. I live in a small subdivision with 5 neighbors on my street. For the past few years during the winter, when we were getting a lot of snow or bad storms, as I'm leaving for my overnight shift at around 8 to 9 p.m., I'll put my wife's windshield wipers up on her car and do a quick walk around to my other 5 neighbors and put their windshield wipers up on their cars. Obviously not if they're outside or something, but if it looks like they're in for the night. Many of them forget to do this, as many of them have children, and it typically slips their minds, and their wipers will be frozen to their windshield in the morning. It's just something nice I like to do to look out for my neighbors. They're all always grateful for this and thank me for it. Many of them started doing it too, and there'll be nights when I'll forget to put mine and my wife's up, and in the morning one of the neighbors has done it for us. Anyway, recently one of our neighbors moved, and a new family moved in last week. It's a young couple and their 2 young children. The other night I was leaving for my overnight shift at around 9 p.m. It was snowing really heavily, and we were supposed to be getting almost 30 centimeters of snow, and it was freezing out. So I put my wife's wipers up and did my usual quick walk around to the other neighbors. I was hesitant when I reached my new neighbor's house, as I'd only introduced myself once, but I did it anyway. As I was putting the second wiper up on their pickup truck, the husband came charging out of his front door yelling, "Hey, what the heck are you doing in my truck?" I tried to explain to him that I was just putting his wipers up to help him. Instead, he continued to scream at me to get the heck off my property and don't touch my crap again. The wife then came out and started yelling at me too. I apologized and started walking away. Some of my other neighbors heard the commotion and came outside to see what was happening. They tried explaining to him too that it's just something we do, but both of them weren't having it. Fast forward to this morning. I'm arriving home for my overnight shift, and as I'm walking in, I see the wife of this couple struggling outside to break the ice off the truck's windshield wipers. Guess she was trying to take her kids to school, and the wipers were frozen solid on the car. She sees me and yells over, "Hey there, do you mind giving me a hand, please?" I looked over at her and yelled back, "No, sorry. I thought I was never to touch your crap again, ma'am," and walked back inside. She yelled back at me, "Wow, idiot." Told my wife about this. She thinks I should have helped her because she was just trying to get her kids to school. I disagree, as I was just following what they told me. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot, and LOL. It would have been so hard for me to just not crack up hysterically in her face. They don't get to be completely rude and unreasonable to you over something so trivial and expect you to help them afterward. Let her learn her lesson the hard way. I understand if they just saw a random person touching their vehicle and freaking out, but once you explained and the neighbors also explained to clear up the misunderstanding, they really should have apologized. They got what they deserved with the frozen wipers in the morning. You don't owe them any help. Their reaction to you helping the first time is more than enough reason to decline now. Yep, she should have been able to put two and two together the next morning when her windshield wipers were frozen to the windshield and everyone else's were up. But instead, she had a lot of nerve to ask for your help without first apologizing for her reaction the night before, or at least saying something to clear the air. Bad karma's a bummer. She just found out what happens when you bite a helping hand. I'm 26 male, very close to my cousin Lily, 24 female. We have a lot in common and always hang out. But 3 years ago, Lily was engaged to a man named Josh. Lily was all happy and planned the wedding till she found Josh and my sister Rose in bed together. So Lily cut both off and moved out of state. Now my sister and Josh are getting married. I was invited, but I refused to go because of what they did to Lily. My mom told me it was years ago and how Lily moved on. Well, if you count trust issues and therapy moving on. I told my mom that I didn't care if it was years ago. They betrayed Lily to the point that she moved away. I also told my mom that I was on Lily's side. Now my family's calling me and blowing up my phone to tell me to move on because Rose is my twin sister. She wants me in her wedding since she's my only sister. But am I in the wrong? I know I'm hurting my family. Not the idiot. You didn't hurt your family. Your sister did. You're not obligated to go to the wedding because she's your sister. I wish some people in this world would stop pushing this narrative that you have to be a part of someone's life just because they're family. OP's family. Stop having morals and ethics. It makes our lack of them very, very obvious. And your standing up for them makes us look bad. Our looking bad is therefore your fault. You are not the idiot and you know it. Thank you for being seemingly the only decent person in your family, besides Lily. Yeah, years from now, they'll get over you not attending the wedding. It seems a lesser crime than adultery. I love when people try to dismiss others' trauma by saying, "It was years ago." Like, no. Sorry, your sister destroyed someone else's life and gave them lifelong trust issues. Just because it happened a while ago doesn't automatically mean people should have to forgive and move on. Just because sister's all happy and content now doesn't erase her behavior, nor the consequences of her behavior. No amount of family forgetfulness is going to heal that wrong. If it was me, I'd wear all black to the wedding, including a lace face covering, rip it off and object to the wedding when the minister asks, then throw red wine at the bride's dress. Okay, maybe I wouldn't be that extra. I'm kind of a wimp. But anyone who asks you to go should have to hear your plans to destroy the wedding. Start making a list of more and more elaborate plans and give them to the ever-growing options each time someone asks. Maybe they'll finally get the hint. I'm sure your cousin appreciates that at least one person from her family is on her side. This marriage won't last anyway. Neither of them has any morals or sense of loyalty. Tell your mom you'll catch her next wedding. If they cheat with you, they'll cheat on you. Heard this about my former brother-in-law when he cheated on my sister. He married his affair partner, even brought her to the divorce hearing, 'cause they were in love. Yep, he cheated on his new wife. She cheated to get even, and they're as happy as you'd imagine. This is my wish for Rose and Josh. My wife and I have raised 3 kids. They're actually pretty great. They're 2 tweens and a pre-tween. My wife's sister and her husband are choosing a different way of child rearing. They have no rules or punishments for what I consider bad behavior. They have 3 kids roughly the same ages as ours. My kids love their cousins, but they also think that they're brats. My work-from-home office is in the basement, but it's also my gaming room. I keep my console collection in there. We have a PS4 upstairs as well. When they visit, my kids have my permission to hide in my office. The door has a lock, and it's in the basement, which also locks. My wife thinks I'm teaching them to be antisocial. Fine. I talked to my kids and said they couldn't go to my office the next time the cousins visited. It was a disaster. I can't describe everything that happened because of the rules. Suffice it to say that my wife told her sister that if she ever allowed her over again, her kids had better behave or else. And now my sister-in-law calls me an idiot for turning her sister against her. I can't win. If I let the kids hide, I'm the idiot. If I let the kids go crazy with their cousins, I'm the idiot. If my wife finally sees that her nibblings are out-of-control monsters and tells her sister to control them, I'm the idiot. Not the idiot in general. I think it's a great practice to teach the kids to remove themselves from uncomfortable situations or recognize signs of things getting out of hand. You can also teach your kids to self-advocate by assertively telling them to stop, or if they don't like how they're playing. But in general, walking away is a good habit for them to get into when they don't like what's happening around them. How wonderful for you to teach your kids that it's okay to have boundaries. As an intense introvert, I applaud you. What's not great is her sister blaming you for the fallout of her kids' atrocious behavior. Also not great is your wife's refusal to accept her nibblings' inability to behave before the mysterious string of disasters. You did all you could, and now those with less careful actions are becoming well acquainted with their consequences. What are these kids doing to warrant your nippers to need a room to escape to? What scenario are you saying? Quick, kids, get to the panic room. Are the cousins from the Addams family? Sometimes people just have to see it for themselves, and your sister-in-law seems to be an incompetent parent, so her judgment of you doesn't count.